Hi everyone. Hey, I wanted to jump on here and finish up or give a more detailed version of the story and kind of break it up into segments. So basically, um, what started really, excuse me, leading me into questions was the fact that uh, when I go to the temple, um, there were things in the ceremony that caused me a lot of questions as to why is this? And I never got answers. Mind you, I never asked those questions in the temple. And I had talked to my home teacher about it, and I believe the bishop and one of his counselors came over to my home. And they weren't able to answer the questions because we weren't in the temple and could not discuss those things. But what I wanted to go over is things that I have noticed in the 2023 temple ceremony, that most of this has been removed now. But for the ceremony that I went through, which my original first time going through was August the 4th of 1990. My son was in April of 91. So let me turn this off. So anyway, when we're watching the film, the one where you see the people that, well, I don't know how to explain it, which characters it is that's playing in this film, but anyway, after eating the fruit of the tree of good and evil, or the tree of knowledge, these lines have now been removed, basically, from what I'm seeing. Now, I could be wrong, but Eve says to Lucifer, "I know thee now, thou art Lucifer, one who was cast out of Father's presence for rebellion." Lucifer says, "Yes, you are beginning to see already." And then Adam says, "What is that apron you have on?" And Lucifer draws his cloak up to reveal a black apron. Lucifer says, "It's an emblem of my powers and priesthoods," plural. And the Mormon Church claims 2 priesthoods. I don't believe there's any other church that claims more than 1 priesthood. The Catholic Church is 1. And of course, that being the Aaronic and Melchizedek priesthood. Melchizedek not even really being a priesthood, the Aaronic priesthood should be the Levitical priesthood. But anyway, and Adam says to Lucifer, "I am looking for Father to come down to give us further instruction." And Lucifer says, "Oh, you are looking for Father to come down, are you?" And so following that, we hear the voices of Elohim and Jehovah kind of reverberating through the speakers in the ceiling in the temple. Jehovah, we've promised Adam and Eve we would visit them and give them further instructions. Come, let us go down. And then Jehovah says, "We will go down, Elohim." Lucifer then here tells Adam and Eve to make aprons to cover themselves, for Father will see their nakedness. The film pauses, and all patrons are told by a narrator voice or whatever through the speakers to follow Lucifer's instruction and put the aprons on us as well. So Adam and Eve follow Lucifer's instruction to make aprons and cover themselves, for Father's going to see their nakedness. And then the film stops, and we're told to follow that command, or that suggestion, to put on aprons as well. Who is telling us to put these on? And why are we putting on and following Lucifer's command in the house of the Lord? It made no sense to me, and I got no answers for that. This is going to definitely be a 2-part video. I hear their voices. They are coming. Lucifer says, "See, you are naked. Take some fig leaves and make aprons. Father will see your nakedness. Quick, hide." Adam says, "Come, let us hide." And then the narrator says, "Brethren and sisters, put on your aprons." The film pauses, and everybody puts them on. Then Adam and Eve are cast out of the Garden of Eden. They build an altar, and offer up the prayer, "O God, hear the words of my mouth," repeated 3 times. And it is not God or Jesus who answers their prayer, but it is Lucifer, who emerges from the background brush and says, "I hear you. What is it that you want?" And Adam asks, "Who are you?" Lucifer states, "I am the God of this world." Later, patrons stand around the altar in the temple and offer up the same prayer. Who will answer? If when Adam did, "O God, hear the words of my mouth," at an altar that he built in the lone and dreary world, Lucifer answered and said, "I am the God of this world. O God, hear the words of my mouth." And then we stand around the altar as patrons in the temple and say, "O God, hear the words of my mouth," 3 times. Who's going to answer our prayer? So that was always a big concern of mine, is why did Lucifer have such a predominant role in the temple? And why are we wearing an apron he told us to put on and then praying to him around the altar in the true order of prayer, and saying, "Oh God, hear the words of my mouth"? And who's going to answer that? So that was one of my big questions, and I didn't understand it, and I never got an answer for it. I sent a letter to some friends of mine that are still to this day active LDS. In fact, they're on the retirement age, and they are now on a mission for the church. I think they're in North Carolina. But they were friends of mine in California who actually had some of the missionary discussions in their home with me, or for me, because my mom wasn't a member and my household environment just wasn't conducive to meeting with Mormon missionaries. So I had it at my girlfriend's older sister who was married, and her family. I had it at her house. I went through all the missionary discussions and all of that, and I had a really rough home life. And there was physical abuse, not sexual, but physical abuse, and things like that. And the last meeting we had with the missionaries, the final one, we watched the film The First Vision on a projector, a film, and we watched it at my girlfriend's house, and they asked me, when watching that film, after they asked me to say the closing prayer and to ask God if what I had seen and what I have learned, if it were true. And I felt something. I felt chills. Usually the experience I felt, I stand all amazed. That song got me every time, because I still fervently believed that the God and Jesus Christ that the Mormon Church has is the same God and Jesus Christ of the Bible. So when I learned that they visited Joseph Smith and all of that and the whole thing, and anyway, I said the closing prayer and I asked, and I felt those chills, and then tears began to roll down my face, and I believed it was true. I now believe that based on my circumstances in life, that basically God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, put this in my path, to give me some normalcy in my life, if you will. Literally, my role models growing up in life as a child was Little House on the Prairie and the Waltons. It wasn't my home life. So the Mormon Church had that family structure, and that is what I was missing. So this is where my unraveling started. Later, the film that I mentioned in my other video, The Mormon Dilemma, played a big factor, the final shelf breaker for me. But that's part of my story, and I'll make another video and share some more with you. Thank you for listening.